There we are. Hello. Welcome, everyone, to our April edition of the ILCA 5-Day Challenge. My name is your Queen Connectress, Miss Marnita Casa, and I am your humble hostess for tonight. Now, there is something that I always like to say, and that is we totally understand. There are so many different things that you can be doing with your time. My goodness, the nighttime is the right time for family and for preparation of the next day. So the fact that you guys decided to come on out and hear what we have to say, of course, that makes us so very happy. So again, thank each and every one of you for being here. Oh my goodness. And those of you that have been with us month after month, you know I love the Monday of the 5-Day Challenge. It's almost like we are having a family reunion. All month we have to wait to gather together so we can learn, so we can inspire each other, so we can empower and grow. So when we're able to do that, it makes me so very happy, especially to see my VIPs. Hello, you guys. How are you? It is so very good. Mwah! It's so very good to see your wonderful faces, see those smiles. My goodness. You guys know the routine. As you come on in, please type your names and where you are from in that chat box. That way I get a chance to tell everybody who is here on the VIP side with us. And if you have the opportunity, turn on those cameras. One of the best parts about us being able to be on a Zoom call like this is that we get a chance to see all your faces and get a chance to see all those beautiful smiles. I love you guys. I love you guys so much. So I'm going to go ahead and start saying hello because I don't know if you feel it, but I feel it. But the energy, yes, Miss Rita B, the energy is good. I love it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start saying hello. First up is Mr. William Duzinski. Hello, Wild Bill. He is coming on in from St. Charles, Missouri. Hello, sir. Thank you so very much for being here and for being a part of our community. Of course, Miss Rita B is here representing San Diego, California. Hello, Queen. It is always good to see you. I see you, Carla. Hello, baby. Represent St. Louis, Missouri. What's going on, Queen? It's always good to see you, baby. Of course, my good friend, her name is Yvetta. Hi, sweetheart. There she is. It's always good to see you, Sunshine. Thank you so much for being here. Of course, Miss Patty Guys in the black and white. I see you, Queen. Hi, baby. Mwah! Thank you so very much for being here. Mwah! She is representing San Diego, California. Of course, I saw you just pop on. CJ, don't think I forgot about you. Mr. Arizona in the house. Thank you so much for being here with us, CJ. I see you, Elton. Hello, sweetheart. How are you? It's always good to see you, my friend. Mwah! Thank you so much for being here and for being a part of our community. There is Miss Kimberly Brooks. Hi, baby. How are you? I'm glad to see you made it. Thank you so very much for being here. It is always good to see you, Queen. Of course, a pillar of our community. I'm talking about Papa Leonard Long is here. Hi, Leonard. How are you? He is always here representing La Quinta, California. Thank you so much for being here. Miss Carla says, good evening, everyone. Be best you can. I know that's right. Thank you so much for that, Carla. Of course, my angel is here. You guys should already know who that is. That is Miss Joyce Easley. Hello, Queen. And I just want to give her a special shout out. I see you, baby. Without Joyce, there is so much that we are getting done that I would not be able to do. Joyce, thank you so very much for doing everything you do for our community. We love you. I see we have the beautiful Miss Maggie is here. Hi, Maggie. How are you, sweetheart? She is coming on in and she is representing, I always want to say Colorado. My goodness, Canada. Maggie is representing Canada. Thank you so much for being here, baby, and for being a part of our community. Of course, my good friend, his name is Nathan Hansberger. Hi, Nathan. How are you? We're coming to Las Vegas. I hope we get a chance to see you because Nathan is out there. It would be really nice to see you pop up, my friend. I see we also have Miss Gina Muhammad is here and representing. Hello, Miss Gina. How are you, sweetheart? Okay, you guys, we're at the top of the hour. Let's go ahead and get our party started again. Thank each and every one of you for joining us on our April edition of our ILCA 5-day challenge. My name is your Queen Connectress, Miss Marnita Casa, and I am your humble hostess for tonight. Now, it is my honor to introduce you all to a man that for over 25 years dominated the direct sales industry. His cryptocurrency education is used by companies and universities worldwide. Now, for over 8 years, he dedicated his life to learning about blockchain technology and cryptocurrency, but he didn't just stop there. He decided to go out, share his information with the masses, and this was done by putting on fun and exciting Bitcoin boot camps nationwide at no cost. He has built wonderful communities and thriving platforms like you see before you now. So without further ado, it is my honor to introduce you all to Mr. Brandon Ivey.
All right, all right. Thank you, Miss Casa, for that introduction. I got to give it back to you for all the hard work that you're putting in. You just talked about Joyce, but I also got to talk about you because none of this will be happening without what you're doing behind the scenes to put everything together to organize what ILCA is all about and putting everything together that I would miss. So thank you for all the work that you're doing. And as you said, we've got Vegas coming up, we've got Chicago coming up, we've got a new era of or chapter of ILCA coming up. I'm already planning for 2026. I mean, in fact, there's going to be a big addition coming into 2026 with launching of our new division, which will be the personal development and self-improvement division. So I will be working on that for like 6 months to put all of that together for you guys to go side by side with crypto. And what we're doing tonight with the 5-day challenge is something that I started back in 2018 by doing Bitcoin boot camps around the country on a Saturday afternoon where people from the community can come out at no cost and learn and hear about this thing called Bitcoin, this thing called blockchain, and why we should pay attention to it. I had a revelation. I was invited to a private meeting in downtown LA in 2016, and I didn't know much about Bitcoin or crypto at the time. And it was a private mining company. And most people's introduction to crypto has to do with some form of a business opportunity. And that's what happened with me as well. And I went into this meeting and there were millionaires in the room, and it was a private secret meeting, and they were talking about the future of crypto and what crypto mining is. And they weren't mining Bitcoin, they were mining Ethereum. But they laid the foundation of why this is important. And I learned things and heard things for the very first time that I was never exposed to before. Because I heard about Bitcoin since 2010, but I didn't know what type of an impact it was going to have on the world. And when I heard that, I walked out of the building and it was still middle of the day, and I put my sunglasses on and I thought it was like Neo in the Matrix, watching people walking up and down the street, and I'm looking at them like they have no idea what's about to happen. And that actually began my journey. I bought 3 Bitcoin for the very first time, didn't know what I was doing. I sold it for a profit, but I should have held on to it because I had cost myself $60,000 in 1 year had I held on to it. In May of 2017, I learned two things that changed my life, which is why I had to do these Bitcoin boot camps. And one of the things that I learned is that blockchain technology is going to disrupt every single industry on the planet today. Whether you like it or not, believe it or not, trust it or not, your opinion of this is irrelevant. And it's even more so prevalent today than it was back then because we're watching this develop in front of our eyes. If you're part of our inner circle, you're seeing it every single day when we look at what's going on in the world. But if you're brand new for the very first time, you're clueless as to what is going on and how this is going to impact your world. I think we can agree that the internet has changed the world. Well, we were around before the internet, so we knew what life was like before it. Can we go back to that time? I would like to. I thought it was fun, but from a business perspective, no. Turn Wi-Fi off in your house for 5 minutes and see what happens. We can't survive without that. The blockchain technology is bigger than the internet. Let me say that again. The blockchain technology is bigger than the internet. And when I first heard about it, I had nowhere to go to learn more. In fact, like I said, that room I was in was full of millionaires talking to each other. They weren't educating the community. They were getting themselves positioned because they knew what was coming. Wait till Chicago when I tell you about the river of money, and you understand how the game works when it comes to the wealthy and the dissemination of information and what money really is. And that most people have no idea what money actually is and what it represents. All we know is we got to go to work, make some money to pay our bills. And that's the extent of it that we know. Oh, it's far bigger than that. It's a living entity people don't get yet, but that's for Chicago. But we fast forward to today, or back when I started to do the Bitcoin boot camps, it was in an effort for me to do my part to expose this fourth industrial revolution to as many people as possible and let them have the opportunity to decide should they want to learn more about it and be a part of it. That was 2018. Today, it is even more important now than ever. What a lot of people don't realize is that we have a new administration in office that has already proclaimed to be the first Bitcoin crypto president and wants to lead the world in when it comes to crypto technology. And he's doing just that. He signed an executive order that is going to impact every single American. And most of America has no idea what it is. Do you know what he signed? It's a mandate that starting from the federal government by September has to conduct all financial transactions through digital currency. Now, they left that open and vague, so we're still trying to figure out which way they're going with this. We know they're leaning towards stable coins, and people don't even know what that is, meaning all government contracts, salaries, pensions, anything having to do with transactions will be done digitally. Now, we already live in a cashless society, I will say, because most people don't carry cash on them. But this is something completely different. And this has always been in the works for decades. There was just no technology that made it possible until now. So why should we pay attention? Because here's something else, and I don't mean to scare you, but I'm on one today. And this is that we are on the verge of a financial collapse. Take politics aside, whether you agree or disagree with what's going on is irrelevant. All I'm looking at is results and actions. And let me give you a couple of results that we are still at the beginning of right now. Oh, I just had it up, and of course, there we go. We're just at the beginning of now. If you haven't been paying attention, 46% of toy companies just released a report that they say they expect to go out of business within weeks. 128,000 federal workers lost their jobs in the last 60 days. 40% of cargo ships leaving China for the US are empty today. Do you know the domino effect of that? That means dock workers don't have anything to unload. So why pay the dock workers? That means our truck drivers that's delivering goods across the country are going to be impacted, which means if they're not delivering goods, all the stops that they make that they spend money on, those local shops are going to be impacted. That means that our shelves are going to be more empty than normal. This is a cascading effect. Shoes expected to go up 87% in price. Apparel expected to go up 65%. U.S. exports expected to drop 18%. Tourism to the U.S. is down 20%. All foreign goods up at least 10% on the U.S. dollar alone. And this is just getting started. So as Jim Rohn says, it's not what happens to you that's important because there's nothing any of you can do about any of that. That's what's happening. Some of you agree with the policies, some of you do not. Again, it's irrelevant. What is the result of it? And there's nothing you can do about it, but what you can do, you can control how you react to it. And every single one of you can put yourself in a position to ride out any storm, whether it's short term or long term. And now it's not no longer an option, it's a necessity. You have to know about this because even though these things are happening, the administration is also preparing for the other side, whether intentionally or unintentionally destroying the current financial system. You're on your own. Arkansas just found that out. whether a natural disaster or not. Federal government said, nah, we're not bailing you out. And that is a state that voted for Donald Trump. That's a governor of Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who was his press secretary. You're on your own. So if you know this, what can you do today to prepare yourself for the worst, but expect the best? Even if you agree with everything that's going on, you expect the best outcome. There still will be short-term pain. What can you do now to protect you and your family while you wait out till the good times start rolling in again? Blockchain technology. So saying all of that, I want you to pay close attention because some of you have heard this before, but I'm giving it in a different light today, this month, this 5-day challenge. So let's go into the technology of what this is about. And my whole point from the beginning is that is why we were doing Bitcoin boot camps. And we're getting back on the road. Chicago will be the first one since. I forgot what's the last city I was in that I think it might have been Texas. The last city I was in that I did a Bitcoin boot camp, or Seattle. No, maybe it was Florida, Tampa Bay. But what is blockchain technology? Well, in one sentence, it's one of the greatest technologies mankind has ever invented. Or a better way to say it is, it's a technology that is going to revolutionize the future of humanity. And we're at the beginning of this. Every technology that comes in the future is going to be built on top of this technology. So when you think of agriculture, when you think of hospitals, when you think of supply chain, when you think of the space race, when you think of oceanography, when you think of anything, it is all going to be layered on top of this technology. So the blockchain. Here's the book smart version of this, the technological scientific definition. A blockchain is a tamper-proof encrypted database secured by cryptography, which is the study of encryption, that acts as an accounting ledger, keeping track of digital assets. Instead of being maintained by a single server like traditional databases, blockchains are decentralized and maintained by a digital network of computers around the world. This database tracks every Bitcoin in the network and each transaction since the very first Bitcoin. You can think of Bitcoin as an accounting system. Through the blockchain, it is a way of recording transactions and value digitally in an open and distributed self-clearing ledger. Beginners to cryptocurrency often sometimes hear the word blockchain and they think that the term blockchain is synonymous with Bitcoin, like they're interchangeable, and it's not. Just like this year, most Americans are going to think whenever they hear the government or Trump say digital, they're going to automatically think Bitcoin. They don't know there's a difference between digital currency and cryptocurrency, stable coins and CBDCs and crypto coins, coins versus tokens, etc., etc., etc. This is why education is so important. So saying that Bitcoin is the same as blockchain would be like saying the smartphone technology and Apple have the same meaning. The relationship between Bitcoin and blockchain is like the relationship between Facebook and the internet. Bitcoin is based on blockchain technology and could not exist without blockchain technology. Blockchain technology preceded Bitcoin, and blockchain technology could exist without Bitcoin. Just like Facebook is on the internet, Bitcoin is on the blockchain. Facebook cannot work without the internet. Bitcoin couldn't work without its blockchain. And I like to break things down in a way that my mama could understand. But on this, I even broke some things down in a way that my dad can understand. And I told my dad, I said, Dad, think of it like this. My dad loves model trains. Every Christmas, he always has a 17-foot tree and a train that goes around for his grandkids. And he started that because his father did that with him. And I said, Dad, blockchain is the railroad tracks. Bitcoin is the train. Ah, it's like light bulb went off on that one. Let's get a visual image in your minds. So picture this. There is a digital block that's created on the internet. Inside that block is data. For cryptocurrencies, text data of a list of transactions is inside of each block. For NFTs, text data detailing ownership of digital assets is inside of each block. Every time a new block is created, it is linked or chained back to the previous block. So you have a series of blocks full of data all chained together to each other. Another way to visualize it is like this. Picture each block as a page in a book. The data inside each block are the words on the page, and the chain is the book's spine that holds all of the pages together. There are various different cryptocurrencies, each with its own blockchain. For the blockchains of cryptocurrencies, the data inside each block is a detailed record of transactions involving that specific cryptocurrency. Basically, each block is one page in a digital ledger. Is there anybody on here, whether you're on YouTube or on Zoom with us, that do not understand what the word ledger means? Type me in the chat box and I'll briefly explain that to you. But I cover it in here. So how are new blocks added to the chain? In order to add a new block to a chain, a complex math equation must be solved. For Bitcoin's blockchain, basically somebody needs to guess a number between 1 and 4 billion in order to add a block to the blockchain. This requires a vast amount of computing power, as well as some time, roughly 10 minutes per block on Bitcoin's blockchain. The individual or group, oh, I thought I changed this, who guesses the correct number creates a new block and it is awarded 3.125 Bitcoins. Now, wait a minute. The screen says 6.25. Why is it 3.125 now? Because every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin that is released is cut in half. That creates scarcity. The last Bitcoin will be mined in the year around the year 2140, long after we're gone. And I'll be explaining more about that tomorrow when we talk about how cryptocurrencies work. But this process is called mining. But really, it should be called something like creating a new block by guessing the correct number. The fact that it is so difficult to add a new block makes it so that no one organization can ever add too many blocks in a row. It would be like the same person winning the lottery over and over again. The fact that blocks are so difficult to create is also the reason why they are so tamper-proof and immutable. So now we know what a blockchain is, how blocks are created, and what each block is filled with: a digital ledger of transactions. To understand the significance of blockchain technology, we must go back in time and look at ledgers and their function. So let's go way back. A ledger is simply a documented record of transactions. So every time you go to the grocery store or you purchase anything, you're given a receipt. That receipt is a documented record of your transaction. In other words, you have a physical ledger. A blockchain is a ledger because the block, for the Bitcoin specifically, is only recording every Bitcoin transaction over the past 10 minutes. And it's done in an open way where everybody can see every single transaction, unlike the current system where it's private. Now you might say, well, isn't privacy better? Yes and no. Because with this being decentralized, even though every transaction can be seen, you don't know who is doing those transactions, which also means there's no funny business going on with the banks, with the government. Where'd the money go? We can track every single transaction. Since the dawn of civilization, people have been trading things with one another. Humanity wouldn't exist if it weren't for the fact that humans trade with one another. Even before the invention of currency, tribes and early civilizations would often keep a record of who traded what with who, dating as far back as 5000 BC in Mesopotamia. People used clay tablets as primitive ledgers to record transactions of crops and animals. Now let's think about that. Since they recorded this in clay and stone, this has survived the ages and the millennia. Think about how ledgers are recorded currently right now in a bank account. Well, if you write something down on paper, that paper can wither. It's not there forever. But you put something on the blockchain, it's there forever. It can't be deleted, it can't be erased, it can't be taken back. It's like we're going back to the old ways of doing things. Ledgers such as these would also be used to keep track of debts owed, so it was important that they were kept in a safe place to avoid tampering or damage. Ledgers were kept safe inside of guarded temples and palaces, the seeds of the first banks. Who loves Game of Thrones? And if you do, who had the most power? And you might be thinking to yourself, well, which family was it? Was it the Lannisters? I don't know. Was it the Targaryens? Nah, it was the Iron Bank. They had all the power. You go back to the Bible, biblical, the disciples of Jesus, the followers. They were wealthy men, but what was their profession? Outside of fishing, they were tax collectors. Why did they have all the money? Because that's the only way you got your hands. They had all the money first. If you wanted to sell into a port to sell your goods, first person you would meet is the harbor master. And you'd have to declare your items. And that harbor master, since back in those days, most people couldn't read and write. So if you could read and write, you were already on another level. Will record what you're bringing in to the port. And then when it's time for you to leave, maybe a week later, they will record what's left. And then you have to pay taxes on the amount that you sold. But here's the thing. Trust. Can you trust a harbor master to be true to the numbers? What if the harbor master doesn't like you? What if you were caught with the harbor master's wife or daughter the last night at the pub? This is when the whole term bribery came in, and bribery for centuries was common. It's just the cost of doing business. Maybe get the harbor master to look the other way or erase something on the sheet on the chart. And you had no recourse because everything was kept in guarded temples and palaces, which the average person did not have access to. And that led to the seeds of the very first bank. So later, banks took over the role of calculating and maintaining ledgers. They kept track of transactions as well as debts owed and kept these records or ledgers safe. Except at this point, people were using currency and no longer bartering with crops, animals, and other goods. Enter the modern banking system. For centuries, people have trusted banks to keep and maintain ledgers, which is records that people agree with the information in a bank's ledgers and trust that that information is safe from tampering or damage. Because everyone agrees with the information in a bank's records, banks are often used as an intermediary, third party, for transactions between two parties. When you swipe your debit card at the grocery store and the point of sale terminal states that the transaction has gone through, the grocery store trusts that you've paid, and the grocery store trusts your bank records. And you trust that the grocery store is going to get money from your bank. Do the banks do this for free? Do they do it for charity? No, they're getting paid, introducing a whole third-party system that's making trillions of dollars. Both parties involved in a transaction trust that the records of the bank are accurate. If the bank says the transfer has successfully been completed, then the buyer and the seller can both trust and agree that the money has in fact gone through. But what are the pros and cons of using banks and their ledgers? Banks add a level of trust and security to transactions. This is why banks have been around for hundreds of years. The downside to this is that banks and their governments have the power to monitor and control people's money, as well as put their hands in people's pockets with fees especially when transferring money international and or converting fiat currencies. So you're paying the bank for the privilege of them getting your direct deposit from your job. Then you pay the bank again when you want to withdraw your money. You pay the bank again for them holding it. And they say, oh, well, we're going to give you, a percentage at the end of the year. Because do you know what they're doing with your money once you give it to them? You think it's just sitting in a bank vault somewhere? No. By law, banks could use up to 90% of the money they've collected from all of us to invest with. They only have to keep 10% on hand at any given time. Now, what if everybody decided to pull their money out from the bank at the same exact time? What would happen? We call that a run on the bank. You know, my first experience of that was I was a little boy, and I watched a movie I love every Christmas called It's a Wonderful Life with George Bailey. George Bailey's Savings and Loan. I was watching it with my grandpa, and I learned quickly from that. When the Great Depression hit, everybody ran to the banks because the stock market was crashing and they all wanted to pull their money out. And George was saying, Mary, I can't give you your money because your money is in Sarah's house. Jim, your money is in Bob's farm that he pulled out a loan from. See, I'm making money on the money for you. They said, I don't care. Give me my money now. And they had to use their vacation, well, their wedding money that they were going to go on vacation to give to everybody, and hopefully that they had enough cash to last until the closing bell at the end of the day. Runs on banks have happened before. You haven't seen nothing yet because it's going to happen again. And you're going to run to the ATM machine and there's going to be no cash in it. You're going to go to your bank and there's going to be locks on the door. And that's when all hell is going to break loose. That is also, as I stated in the past, when the introduction of the digital system by force will come into play and all Americans will be down with it. That's for another conversation. So the issue is, for centuries, we have been trusting banks to keep records or ledgers of who owns and owes what. But at the same time, we've been sacrificing some of our privacy, independence, and percentages of our wealth in fees. But what if there was a better way? What if there was some form of modern technology that could help us get the best of both worlds? What if we could have security, trust, while at the same time also have a financial privacy or autonomy? We would need a secure ledger that everyone could trust and agree on, and that wasn't able to be controlled, interfered with, or manipulated by any person or institution. Enter blockchain technology. Blockchains are distributed and publicly accessible. This is how blockchains are different from banks. A blockchain is a digital ledger, but it is a ledger that everybody has access to, yet nobody can tamper with or control. Historically, ledgers and records have been centralized, locked up, and stored by one institution that has access and control, like Fort Knox. Who controls the ledger of our physical gold? Can we all see it? Do we have access to it? When was the last time Fort Knox was audited? I hope you've noticed something, especially my inner circle members, because at the beginning of the year, Donald Trump and Elon Musk were making a whole lot of noise that we need to go audit Fort Knox. They need to open up the doors. And we got to see is the gold even there. But all of a sudden, you don't hear that noise anymore from them. And I already told you that was never going to happen. And Trump knew it was never going to happen because all he has to do is get on Air Force One and fly down there and tell them, open it up. I'm the president. He doesn't have that power. Huh. Should tell you something. Like I said, like Game of Thrones. Who owns the real power? It ain't the king. It's the bank. So historically, ledgers and records have been centralized, locked up, and stored by one institution that has access and control. For cryptocurrencies, the entire ledger is out in the open and accessible to everybody. For example, Patty did a great job and sent me over a Bitcoin address. Tomorrow morning in Crypto Talk, I haven't looked at it yet. We're going to put that in on the blockchain and we're going to look at that hacker address and see how many millions of dollars is in it. It's a hacker address. They stole 330 something million dollars. But the thing about it is, it's public. We can see it. And now I'm excited to see it because I want to see how they're moving and what they're doing. So for cryptocurrency, the entire ledger is out in the open and accessible to everybody. We just don't know who they belong to. Blockchains are anonymous. When you look at the Bitcoin blockchain, you will notice that you don't see the names, email addresses, or any information about the sender and receiver. So somebody in our community got an email supposedly from MetaMask claiming that they need to click on the link to download or re-upload MetaMask. That was a scammer. You never gave your email address to MetaMask. There's no KYC on MetaMask. So blockchains are anonymous. When you look at the Bitcoin blockchain, you will notice that you don't see the names, email addresses, or any information about the sender and receiver. All you see are transaction hashes and wallet addresses. So the only way someone will know who that wallet belongs to is if you tell somebody, yeah, that's my wallet. I'm very big on protecting my wallets. When I saw my wallet address popping up on MoveQuest, I said, oh, absolutely not. And I moved all my stuff around. Nobody knows where everything is. That's by design. I don't want to have a target on my back. It is almost impossible to determine someone's identity based on these strings of random letters and numbers. This is the paradox of Bitcoin. Everybody can see all of the transactions, but nobody can see who is doing the transactions. Blockchains are decentralized. That's something else you must learn. The difference between centralization and decentralization. For almost every major crypto, nobody owns or controls the ledger, which is the blockchain. The blockchain is available for anyone in the world to see, no matter where they are. Having a decentralized ledger plus the inherent security of a blockchain eliminates the need for an institution, bank, or government to be the middleman. Having a transparent distributed ledger means that cryptocurrency is open to everybody on the planet. Did you know there's an entire 31% of adults in the world that do not have access to a bank account? If you don't have access to banking, you're locked out of the wealth building system. But if they have access to an internet connection, then they can access cryptocurrencies. Blocks require majority agreement to be valid. What makes a blockchain so secure is the fact that it is distributed. There are multiple live versions of each blockchain. If somebody is able to tamper with even one block on his live version of the blockchain, then everyone else will instantly see that it doesn't match up with the other live versions and it will be discarded. As long as more than 50% of the live blockchain versions or nodes agree on something, the versions that are different are identified as false and ignored. And this all happens very, very quickly. So what makes a blockchain secure? The fact that they are essentially immutable. Every 10 minutes, a new block is created on the Bitcoin blockchain. This block is filled with data of recent Bitcoin transactions. The data in the block shows a list of wallet addresses that have sent Bitcoin to other wallet addresses, as well as the amount of Bitcoin sent. Once the block has been mined and the data is written inside, the block is closed and becomes added to the end of the blockchain. At that point, it is almost impossible to edit, modify, or remove. It's like writing in wet cement. And once the cement hardens, the information written will be there forever. The block is basically immutable. Now, is it possible to hack the blockchain? I hear people say this all the time. I don't believe in that technology because I hear on the news about people getting hacked all the time. Understand, the blockchain has never been hacked. What does get hacked are people's wallets and exchanges that are centralized. This is also why education is important. You must know how to use it because for the first time in your life, you are the custodian of your money outside of you taking physical cash out of the bank. You are responsible for your money. The blockchain has never been hacked. How I explained it to my dad was this way. In Los Angeles, our freeway system is run like a grid from numbers, starting from the north where the mountains are. You got the 210 freeway, and then south of that, 210, 10, 91. No, 210, 10, 60, 91, 105, all that going that way. And then north and south, you got PCH, you got the 405, you got the 5, you got the 605, the 710, the 605, the 57, the 15, the 215. They go north. I said, so Dad, the freeway is the blockchain. And there are many different blockchains out there, so different freeways. But let's say you want to go from Los Angeles to Vegas, like what we're going to be doing very soon. We'd hop on the 10 freeway, head east. But then we have to change freeways and to get on the 15 to go north. So what hackers are doing is they're not hacking that blockchain. They're waiting for the off ramp that you're moving your crypto from one chain to another. It's in that movement that's getting hacked. That's not the blockchain side. So is it possible to hack the blockchain? If one individual or organization were able to gain control of 51% of the computing power of a blockchain, then they would be able to double spend their coins. That means they could spend their coins, then delete that transaction and spend the coins again. Imagine you have a debit card and your debit card says you got $300 on it. And you go and you spend $250. And then somehow you're able to hack into the bank and delete that transaction so the bank still says you have that $250. And then you go and spend it again. That's called double spending. To mount a successful 51% attack on a large crypto such as Bitcoin will require an astronomical amount of computing power, costing billions or tens of billions of dollars. You want to know why? Because a hacker wouldn't hack one computer. A hacker would have to hack millions of computers around the world at the same time. Who has that type of power? Computing power. It would cost billions of dollars to do. There are estimated to be over 1 million Bitcoin miners in the world today. Somebody would need to generate the computing power of over 1 million other miners to be able to temporarily, it wouldn't even be permanent, temporarily tamper with the creation of one block. Now, I told you guys, what's the reward for one block being created? 3.125 Bitcoin. What's Bitcoin worth today? Around $93,000, $94,000 a coin. So we're talking close to $300,000, a little less. Would you be willing to spend billions of dollars just to get $300,000 worth of tokens? A 51% attack on Bitcoin would be outlandishly expensive. There's only one person in the world, in my opinion, that has the means necessary and is, I don't want to use the word crazy enough, but thinks outside the box. You know, there's a thin line between genius and crazy. To do it, just to prove a point, and that's Elon Musk. But even he, would he be willing to spend billions of dollars just to prove that it could be done? I don't know. He did spend 40 billion on Twitter. I don't know. Other use cases of blockchain technology. Because blockchain technology is by nature secure, anonymous, immutable, and decentralized, it's being eyed for other applications beyond only crypto, which is why I said blockchain technology is going to disrupt every single industry on the planet. You ever heard of a company called BlackRock? The current crypto industry is a little more than $3 trillion in size. Do you know what BlackRock is looking at? Because BlackRock by themselves is more than 13 trillion under management, direct control and indirect control. They control about $20 trillion in the world. They are far bigger as one company than the entire crypto market right now. So why are they so invested in this technology? Because they're looking at another number. 687 something trillion dollars of the world's money that will be moving from the current financial system into the new digital system through a word called tokenization. And by the way, I have a course just on tokenization. That's what they're looking at. They're looking at 10, 15 years from now, and they're preparing for it right now. And they're not the only ones. So using a blockchain to cast votes in an election. Thank you, Joyce. Yeah, I got that. 867 trillion is the number. 867 trillions, mind-boggling. But what's one of the most divisive things of the last 8 years in America on politics? Half of Americans do not believe that we have a fair and accurate election system because of Donald Trump. It doesn't matter. I'm not even going to state any facts because it's irrelevant. At the end of the day, it's what people believe. And you can believe something that's not true and it's irrelevant. There was an old saying that I learned in personal development that said, when the mind is right, facts don't matter. When the mind is right, perception is reality. So how do we solve that problem? Especially for future elections, where if one side doesn't win, they will claim that it was rigged. How do we solve that? My answer, put voting on the blockchain. Because the blockchain cannot be manipulated. The blockchain doesn't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. The blockchain doesn't care what your personal political beliefs are. The blockchain is a program. I can trust the program. 2 plus 2 will always be 4, no matter who says it. So you're not going to have illegals voting. You're not going to have dead people voting. You're not going to have multiple votes from the same person happening. And it's all transparent. We can see every vote that happens. So we're not worrying about hanging chads from the Gore administration or, well, military people voted by mail and unfortunately through a hurricane or whatever, it arrived too late. So we're going to throw out all their votes. Yeah, I know that they voted, but through a technicality, we're not going to count votes, which is utter BS. But that's what we do. But what if you put it on the blockchain? The blockchain is freedom. It is the most complete and fair sense of the term. And unfortunately, people might call that DEI. We don't want it. It's equal. No, no, no. The blockchain is freedom. Now, with the blockchain and voting, in my opinion, even though blockchain would solve it, voting will be the last thing that will be put on the blockchain because both sides like the system as it is, especially the states and local jurisdictions. If you've ever been in politics, you will know how funny it is that every county has different rules and they're able to make their own. And that's the American way. So voting will be, in my opinion, one of the last things that blockchain will be used to adopt. What about using blockchain to keep track of medical data? This is revolutionary. I'm going to be writing an entire course just on this. Medical data on the blockchain, but I have to infuse that with AI because AI, artificial intelligence is going to be huge for that. In the America with the rising costs of hospital bills and doctor visits, being able to do things remotely and being able to use AI to do it is revolutionary. Using a blockchain to keep track of the supply chain of food or other products. I have a whole course on this, and it has to deal with, again, you're going to have to infuse AI into it. Can you imagine going to the grocery store and you pick up that piece of fruit? And because of blockchain technology, you're able to know where it was planted, what country it was in, how long ago, when it was picked, how long did it take to reach the grocery store before it got into your hand. You don't have to take whatever sticker they put on it as that's the truth. You could look at the blockchain at it. But then again, AI is going to take over this as well. Using a blockchain to store authentic pieces of digital art, NFTs. Most people, when they think of NFTs, they think of digital arts, but actually, it is so much bigger than that. Every single thing in your possession is going to be an NFT because it's going to be tokenized. I have a whole course on that. Using a blockchain to store personal identification information. I shared the story last month of my mom losing her passport when she was in France, in Paris, and having to fax over to the U.S. Embassy a copy of her birth certificate and all that stuff. Imagine now personal identification is all on the blockchain, and it will happen from birth. You know, everybody's given a social security number. Most people don't even know what that really means. United States is not a country, it's a company. That's another discussion too. But using the blockchain to store personal identification is huge. Huge. What's one of the most divisive things that's in the news right now? Is that illegal immigrant actually illegal? Are they in the system? Are they part of the MS-18? Well, let's look at the tattoos. Well, let's look at pictures. Well, they're wearing a Jordan hat, a Bulls hat. They're gang. The blockchain will record all of that. There'll be no misidentification. Using a blockchain to store important deeds, such as for land or a home, that is huge, especially when you're in dispute of property. You know, I always say this all the time with me and my cousin Marnita. We share the same great grandmother. And from that line comes from Louisiana, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Shreveport, mostly New Orleans and Shreveport. And we still got a gang of family out there, a lot of them, that I found interesting that the family that moved to California, that they really don't talk to them at all. They don't want to have nothing to do with them. But we got family down there. And what if one day they contact us and say, hey, yeah, we got this land that belongs to your family. Who gets it? You know who I say gets it? Me, I'm the oldest. Well, of this generation, I'm the oldest. Then Marnita, Jennifer, others her age, 2.5, 3 years younger than me, they all came next, and all the other rugrats after them. But why would I get a better claim than her or my other cousins? We have equal claim, but what if all of a sudden there's another long lost cousin somewhere that pops up? But if you have it stored on the blockchain, then there is no dispute. There is no, you know, when people don't have a trust, family trust, they don't have a will in place, and they pass on, who's getting the leftovers of the property and the money and the will and all that kind of stuff. This is historic, using it for important deeds. And this is just a small sample because blockchain technology is going to disrupt everything you can think of, especially the internet. It's going to move us from being centralized to decentralized. Web 3.0, the future of the internet, is upon us now. The technology is here. As a disclaimer, this information is intended for educational and training purposes only and should not be construed as investment advice. As with all financial decisions, you should contact your licensed financial advisor before investing in any financial instrument. So again, why do we need to pay attention to this technology? Because it is among us, it's going to be used, and the president has already signed an executive order making it so. Biden didn't do that. Biden did the opposite. He was well, his administration put forth anti-crypto policies that set us back 4.5 years. Now, the Trump administration is like this pendulum swing. It's going way on the other side. And we can take advantage of this right now. But it starts with your knowledge. It starts with knowing that exists. You can't play the game if you don't even know the game is being played until it's too late. So pat yourselves on the back that you took time out of your schedule to even be here tonight to hear this information. And second, in your mind, you should be thinking, how many other people need to know this that I should invite to come out for tomorrow night? Because tomorrow night, we're going to talk about how do cryptocurrencies even work? So with that, we're going to move into Q&A. And unfortunately, those of you that is on YouTube watching us right now, you might notice that there's people here on the VIP side. So soon I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Casa to handle the Q&A, because if you're a VIP member with us, you're able to ask questions. That's something I wasn't able to do when I first learned this, because the people I asked, they had no idea what I was talking about to answer my questions. You can't ask YouTube questions. But here you can ask us questions in our VIP members. So unfortunately, on the YouTube side, I will be shutting off the live stream, but I invite you to be a part of our VIP next time. If you go back to your welcome email. Oh, well, I'll let Marnita say that. Tell them how it works, Marnita. Go right ahead.
Okay, sorry, I was multitasking right now. Okay, so how does that work? When you guys are ready to become a VIP, all you have to do is just join one of our memberships. And what happens is you're sent an email with all the information you need. You're going to have information on our diamond class if you are a diamond member or above, or you're going to have information on how to join us here on the VIP side. So just look for that email as soon as you become a member.
Thank you, Ms. Casa, for that. And yes, I know, Maggie, what you're looking at, these are my 5-day challenge slides. So they're different than Bitcoin 101 because I had to combine some. Bitcoin 101 has 15 lessons. So the 5-day challenge is covering information from Bitcoin 101. So I have to combine a couple of lessons into one. So that's why you see a different slides there. But I can get you these slides too if you want to have those slides. All right. Anybody have any comments, questions, aha moments? Go ahead and raise your hand. All right, fantastic. Well, that means I didn't have to shut off the Zoom on YouTube. So we will. Oh, wait. There's Patty. Oh, man. Okay, I'll leave it open. I'll leave it open just for tonight. Tomorrow I'm going to shut off the Zoom. Go.
Hi, Brandon. You know me better than that. Very rare. So, question. Because there's so many different sites that will record the blockchain, which one would you recommend, or which one is your go-to for Bitcoin? I know Ethereum is Etherscan, but for Bitcoin, there's multiple ones.
Just blockchain.com. That'll work. Or even the one we were using this morning is called blockscan.com. That one will be able to track any wallet from any blockchain.
Gotcha.
So use
that. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, blockscan.com. And we're gonna pull that up tomorrow with that address that you gave me. We're gonna pop that in there. We're gonna take a look at it.
Yeah, I've been looking at it. Just wanted to see what was out there. All right, that's it. That was my only question was that. Thank you.
No problem. And another way too is
great class tonight.
A Bitcoin transaction in your activities, you'll see the transaction hash. Just by clicking on it, it'll take you to the main blockchain that's covering all the Bitcoin's stuff. So just click on the transaction hash.
And within that blockscan.com, we could see who the primary holders are of a certain.
Well, you'll be able to, on blockscan.com first, it's going to show you how many blockchains that wallet is attached to, meaning whether it's Avalanche, whether it's Ethereum, whether it's Binance, whether it's Bitcoin. And then you can see transactions in that wallet of every transaction, regardless of the blockchain that they're on. So
right, for that wallet, but to be able to go back and look and see where those older wallets that hold a lot of Bitcoin that has not moved.
Well, what you'd have to do is look at transactions, because it's only giving you transaction history of that wallet. But the block scan, if you go to just click on, in fact, do I have my, give me 1 second here, and I will post an exact link.
Yeah, and I know I've asked this question before, but when I go to look for it, I don't find it.
Hold on, give me 1 second. Okay. Mempool Space, that's what I didn't think.
Oh, yes, I've seen that one. That one's really cool because it shows an actual block and it's changing.
Yeah, you see this is going to show you every single block on Bitcoin, not just your transactions, every single transaction.
Yeah, I just registered for that today.
Yep. So mempool.space.
Got it. All right, cool. Thank you.
You got it. Am I sharing screen? Can you guys see this?
No.
Oh, hold on. There you go. So mempool.space, and you'll be able to see every single transaction on the Bitcoin network. Even if you go back all the way to the beginning, you can do that. But this is showing you the current block right now. This is the current block being fulfilled right now of all Bitcoin transactions. Recent replacements, recent transactions. Look at this. And you see the fee of every transaction. All right. Any other comments or questions? All right, with that, Ms. Casa, share one more time with everybody tonight about where to go to register for the Chicago event. I know I caught her off guard with that one.
Okay, so if you want to register for the Chicago event, all you have to do is go to www.ilcaevent without the s.com and register, and you will receive an email with all the information you need.
There you go. That was it. All right, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow morning on Inner Circle Crypto Talk, and we will be back tomorrow night for day 2 of the 5-day challenge. Oh, Leonard's already got his room. He's already set. 5-day challenge tomorrow night. How do cryptocurrencies work? How do cryptocurrencies work? So come on back tomorrow, but bring somebody with you so that more people can learn this. The more people that learn this, the better off we are all going to be. Take care, everybody. Have a good night. Brandon Ivey out. Bye-bye.